Yo, what's up guys? This is Vernon Hayes from DJ Swop Shop, and today I've got in front of me here the brand new RANE System One. And the whole idea with this video is to take you guys on a walkthrough. It's going to be based on my view, and generally speaking, I am a pioneer and techniques user. So this is going to be quite an interesting view from myself, considering that I'm not a RANE user. I just want to point out that this unit I had bought myself. There's no paid partnership. It's not a loan unit. So there's nobody that's paying me to give any form of opinion. What you're going to see here is going to be my opinion, raw and unfiltered. And hopefully that will help you guys to get a bit of insight in terms of what this brand new unit is all about. So, like I said, I'm a pioneer DJ user, and I've got an XDJ AZ in my studio along with a pair of Techniques 1210 MK5s, and that's my playground. So coming off something like that and looking at the RANE System One, it sounds strange, but to me, if Pioneer and Techniques had to get together, jump in bed and have a baby, the RANE System One for me feels like that's exactly what would actually come out. So the Platters on this has an extremely turntable-like feel. The Platters are quite heavy, very weighted. You've obviously got the control disc on top, and it feels just like an actual record that you're moving on a slip mat on a platter. Now we know that this is a digital unit. It's obviously not turntables. And it's like half breed of a controller, but it meets in the middle perfectly in the sense that when you use this controller, it does not feel like a controller. It feels extremely realistic in the sense that it feels just like turntables, very realistic, heavy jog wheels, and a very tactile kind of feel. One of the other things that I'd like to point out about the RANE System One is that on the previous models, the buttons tend to feel a bit clunky. For me, they tend to feel a bit clunky, especially if you're coming off other gear like your Pioneer equipment, for example. So the buttons used to be hard and clunky, and they've now got a very nice feel that they are a lot more smoother and like a kind of a plush feeling, which is a nice improvement. Underneath the start-stop buttons, when you hit them, you can actually feel that it's not your traditional tact switches that sit below these housings. There's a different kind of switch now, which is very similar to that of the Technique start-stop buttons. So you can see the direction that the guys have taken with the improvements that they brought into the RANE System One, that it's almost like there's a new identity for RANE. This is obviously a game changer for RANE. And this is now breaking into a market where we're not just looking at scratch DJs, but regular DJs like myself as well, that finds this unit extremely appealing. So it has a large touchscreen and it's very responsive. The nice thing about this is that you can choose different layouts. I know that Serato users normally like to have your tracks running from the top to the bottom on your waveform display. Myself, coming off the traditional Pioneer gear, I prefer to have the tracks running horizontally, and you can actually choose between the two different layouts on this particular unit, which gives it nice flexibility. Right, so one of the main topics on the RANE System One is obviously stems, and we're going to get to that in a bit, but everything happens on board on this unit. So it's not like your traditional method where you connect it to your laptop and everything happens on the laptop. Yes, it's on board, and yes, it does happen a little bit slower. So I would say that there would be a bit of preparation work involved beforehand, where you're going to analyze your music for stems so that when you're on a stage and you're busy performing, you don't have to sweat it out waiting for tracks to be scanned and analyzed so that you can actually use the stems. So that I can highly recommend. It's a great feature, but a little bit of a fallback if you're not using a laptop, that there is a slight time delay. All right, so although this unit is feature rich for scratch DJs, although a lot of the stuff points to something that would appeal to scratch DJs, it's also very appealing for me as a regular DJ. This unit is very easy to use, and it's very easy to find your way around the different features without actually getting stuck. All right, so one of the things that I would like to discuss on the RANE System One is the fact that the settings on this unit is extremely granular. So you can go down, you can drill down into different settings in such a way that it just shows you there's so much flexibility in terms of what this unit has to offer, which is fantastic. If we go into the menu, for example, and we go down to settings, I mean, this is more like general stuff, your Wi-Fi, Bluetooth connectivity. There's stem support, which you can add or remove. I've obviously got that active, so I can show you guys what this thing is all about. But there's a whole bunch of other settings there. There's also settings for the mixer, your sampler output, your playlist deck crossfade time, your EQ type between isolator and EQ, regular EQ. You can also set your high and your low crossovers on the EQ as well. Smart headphone Q, Q solo mode, split Q output, normal or inverted, for example. So your crossfaders. So you can see that there's a lot that's going on in terms of what you can do with the settings. Not so much on the sound effects, but microphone and auxiliary. There's a couple of settings and things that you can change there. And then when you come through to services, there's obviously a lot of streaming services that you can look at there. Apple Music, Amazon Music, Beatport, SoundCloud, Tidal, Dropbox, all the usual suspects. And then there is also a feature. Now, I'm not an Ableton user. I'm not an Ableton guy. I'm not a producer, so I can't tell you much about Ableton. But this has got Ableton Link, which I think people that like to do live acts and people that produce their own music would probably find that extremely helpful. Something interesting that I'd like to mention to you guys is that initially when I turned this unit on, it did indicate that there is a new software version that's available. Naturally, I had loaded our Wi-Fi so that it can connect to the Wi-Fi, and it then picks up the data and it tells me, okay, the unit needs to be updated. So I went ahead with that. And the amazing thing about this is that everything happened as the unit was standing here. There was no transferring files to a USB, plugging it in and going through a process. There were no laptops and laptop cables or anything like that. It purely connected to the Wi-Fi, downloaded the software. I then followed the prompt to let it go through the update. It did that all by itself, restarted, and boom, Bob is your uncle. So that, I think, is an extremely simplified way to do this. And I think it makes it harder to do something that can actually interrupt the process, unless you're, of course, going to turn the unit off, which you shouldn't do. The point is, it's a lot easier than what it is on other units. So ease of use in a lot of sense on this unit is better than a lot of the gear that is out there. Right, so lots of granular levels on the settings, which is amazing. There's just so much that you can look at. There wouldn't be enough for me to actually, enough time for me in this video to go through everything. The whole idea here is just to give you guys a brief rundown on what my findings are on this unit coming off different types of equipment. Right, so we've gone through the settings, which is quite granular, and then there are also the streaming services. I wanted to discuss the services with you guys. This is something that is big in the industry now, where a lot of people don't buy or take all of their music with them anymore. They're now building music pools and folders on places like Beatport, Tidal, and so on and so forth. And you can connect to all of those services and you can play the music, you can stream the music off those services. Obviously, having a good internet connection is imperative. For me, I like a hard line. I like to plug in a USB, especially with this being standalone. That's amazing to do. But there are a lot of guys that do like to stream their music, and there are multiple services available for you to be able to do that, which is amazing. Now, I'd like to get down to stems with you guys, just to give you an idea. So I see there is a stems folder here. I did load a little bit of, it was like 3 tracks that I loaded yesterday, just to get an idea and get a good feel for it. So this one, for example, and as you can see, there's the layout on horizontal. So if I press play on this, very nice, the platter starts rolling immediately. And that is quite responsive. So I just want to see, there we go. That's obviously quite nice. Now, in order to activate your stems, let me just check and see if I've got it right. There we go. And it shows you vocal, melody, bass, and drums. so we can take those out. I'm going to give it a bit of volume and play around with it so that you guys can see. Right, so it's right on the money. There's no delay, there's no latency. I don't feel like there's any processing that happens where I pick up a difference between the actions and the sound coming out of the speakers. So stems is quite good. One of the other nice things about what they've done with the layout here is you've got on the side of the deck, on your left and on your right hand deck, there's two buttons here. It's also labeled stems. And you've got the acapellas and instrumental, so you can, for example, play music, and that's acapella only. And then instrumental, which is pretty close to what you're playing now, but you can see it changes everything here. It basically groups the changes so that you can reach these points quicker. Right, so I can see there's a lot of guys that are going to have some serious fun when it comes to the stems. And then I wanted to bring you guys down to the platters for a minute. So I did say that these feel very much like techniques. I mean, when I look at the side of the platters and the way that they feel, I'm very familiar with techniques, and this doesn't feel any different. It actually feels and looks like it was made by techniques. So it feels really good. And there are some things that they've incorporated onto the player that adds to the realistic feel. So if we're going to be playing this, for example, let me just move that over and turn that down a little bit. There's a knob over here that says stop time. So if I'm going to hit that, then it stops immediately. But if I'm going to change that all the way to the other side, now that for me is awesome, because for myself as a DJ, I land up doing that with turntables quite a bit when I'm running in transitions, or I'm playing acapellas or vocals where I need to do like a roll stop for the transition or the effect that I'm trying to achieve. One of the other things is also, when this is playing, you've got pitch bend buttons on the right hand side here where you can go faster. Check and see. I think I need to take quantize off, so you can do a much longer roll stop on that. You can also speed it up. So the idea is, if you're going to hold that in, then the effect compounds and it lasts longer. Alternatively, if you're using it for mixing and you just want to do a nudge, then you can do that as well. So very, very handy feature that they've got over here. I particularly like what they've done with the available settings on the bottom here. Right guys, so they've also got quantize. You can see that there is a quantize button here that I deactivated now just to be able to do the roll stop effect. There's also a record button, so once your mix is playing, you can hit start and it will start recording your set, which is amazing. This is a really good feature, because DJs tend to have to use audio interfaces and connect it to laptops and software, and you've got to watch your levels and all those kind of things, and all of that completely melts away because it becomes as simple as hitting two buttons and off you go. Right guys, and then one of the other ones is the mixer EQ. So if I hit the mixer EQ button over here, you can see it shows me channel 1 and channel 2, and then under input it says engine currently. So you've got engine and you've got computer. So you can run your EQ inputs via the engine, which will be on board. If you run it via computer, then it's obviously going to pull the information from your computer. For me, this is an amazing standalone unit, and I highly recommend that you just use it as it is. You can obviously use a laptop if you want to use an expansive library, but I would say that, you know, for what you get here and for what this is intended for, use it straight in standalone mode. This unit is going to blow your mind. So a little bit on the connectivity of the RANE System One. There is Wi-Fi connection and there is Bluetooth connectivity. So you can use the Bluetooth to connect to a phone, for example, and you can record samples via the phone into the unit, which you can then take and you can use that along with your live act or your performance as you wish, which is really cool. If you're thinking about guys like Fred Again, for example, he's one of the artists that come to mind. If you're anything like him, a blend between him and a DJ, you'll find that feature quite handy, right? So when we're looking at the build quality of this unit, most of the parts is actually made out of metal. Both of your sides, your plates at the top here, nothing feels plastic, even on the sides. Nothing, there's a plastic panel over here in the front, but this is all metal, and around the front and on the back there is all metal, which gives this unit a very strong, robust kind of feel. So in today's day and time, when you're spending good money on a controller, the last thing that you want to do is spend top dollar and sit with something that feels plasticky, that feels like it's not going to last. And this here for me is reminiscent of something like the Denon MC3000, MC6000. I know that these are the Denon and RANE are both in the in music family. So I think that, it's reasonable to expect some similarities. I see that they've brought that into the RANE System One, and it's quite weighted as well. So it is a heavy unit. It's not overly heavy, but heavy in the sense that you can feel that this unit is made with quality and robustness in mind. It doesn't feel like a plasticky toy. So overall, the features and performance of this unit for me as a non-scratch DJ are extremely impressive. There's no software lagging, there's no responsive issues, and the layout of the hardware of this unit is fantastic. So for the RANE System One in South Africa, you're going to be looking at paying, I'd say, anywhere between 55 to 60,000 Rand, depending on which retailer you get in touch with and if there's discounts and things like that. That is an excellent price point in the market when you consider what the other controllers in the same price class are offering. And you look at this and it's just absolute next level. So for myself as a turntable and regular digital DJ, this unit blows my hair back completely, and I'm not a RANE user. I've never played with RANE. I've never owned RANE. So coming out of the woods as someone that's never actually used the brand, I find this controller extremely impressive compared to some of the previous units. I've touched them, I've tried them out a little bit, but I haven't actually bought one and used it because for me, I just didn't find them that appealing. With this one here, your paddle switches are nice and soft. You've got sound effects over here. If you want to play a track, let's take a look here, for example. I just want to see if there's anything loaded. So let's just load that track again. There we go. Some of the sound effects, just want to see that's active. Very cool, lots of cool features here. You'll also notice that there's a little button here, so you can adjust your level depth, and then there's like a little beats button over here, so you can use that, and as you can see on the display there, it will actually change it. So that gives you really quick access, and again, like it's a granular kind of setup where you don't have to go through something in order to be able to achieve that. Your access for a lot of the features that you find very handy, especially if you're using effects and things like that, is extremely easy to get to, and it is extremely user friendly. Right guys, so I'm not going to keep you busy for much longer. This is pretty much my thought on the RANE System One. If you're thinking about getting one of these for yourself, I can absolutely recommend it. When you're going to compare this to the Pioneer XDJ RX3, the XDJ XZ and the XDJ AZ, this is an extremely strong competitor, and I would highly recommend that if there's a list of players that you would like to consider, that you must most definitely keep this in your top 5. I hope that you guys have found this video informative, and that yeah, you guys will enjoy what I've given to you here. And hopefully we'll see a lot more guys using RANE DJ going forward, especially with what the guys have brought to the table now. Thank you very much, guys. Vernon from DJ Swop Shop, and I'll catch you soon.